Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Kristen Davies. I'm a trainer with Can-Am Systems. Today's Lunch and Learn is going to review the job lookup screen and how you can customize it based on you, the user logged in. We're also going to take a look at a couple of new features that have been added to company settings regarding job dates and job relationships. We're also going to take a look at our job create best practices. A couple of housekeeping items. I have muted all participants to avoid any kind of interruption and feedback. Also, in the Zoom meeting, there is a chat box which will allow you to enter in any questions you may have. Those questions will be addressed at the end of our session. Looking at the job lookup screen, I have the ability to define columns of information that is meaningful to me as the user logged in. You'll notice that I have added a number of columns. I've added our estimated revenue, our stage, and I've also added some date information, approved, actual start, actual completion, and invoiced. For the user who's logged in, this information is critical so we can keep on top of our jobs to make sure that our job is running through the job stages properly. Once you've created or set up the view that you would like, you have the ability to filter. So if I wanted to see all of my jobs that have an actual start date on them, I can click the arrow and it's going to filter and show me all of my jobs with an actual start. Same thing with completion and invoiced. Invoiced specifically so that you're not lagging behind. Once your actual completion date has been added to your job, you know you have to get your invoice out there. To customize your job lookup, it's in the user settings within our settings menu option. Simply go to settings and select user settings. I come down to jobs. Configure your job lookup columns. Here you will see on the left-hand side a number of fields that you can choose depending on the user and what's important for them to look at. There is a maximum number of columns that you can add to your job lookup screen, and that is 12. I highly recommend 12. It's a big number, and your screen will start to get smaller. The columns will start to get smaller the more information you add to your job lookup. I recommend between 9 and 10 so that the information is a little bit more visible. You also have the ability to determine what sort direction the field is going to take. I can choose it to be ascending, descending, or none. I can also tell the system what I want my sort priority to be. In this instance, I have said that my number one priority on my sort is my customer name. I've said I want my next sort priority to be 2, which is my created date. I want it to go into descending order. Once I have made all of my selections, I'm simply going to come up to the Save option and choose Save. You can reset to the default settings, if you choose to, selecting Reset Defaults will take it back to what our company setup had determined. Another option in our user settings is the ability to create an email signature for when I send out emails from our log notes on our jobs. It will attach a signature with that log note. You'll see here I have added a signature for me as the user logged in. I've also added our company logo. To add a company logo, uploading as a JPEG file, or if you have multiple logos, you need to provide support with those logos in a bit image format, and they will provide you with a URL to drop into your email signature. Formatting of the email signature, very similar to your external email. I can bold, I can italic, I can strike through. I can use bullet points. I can indent, and I have a number of styles to choose from. This is important if we are sending out log notes from PSA Web to have that email signature attached, so your end user recipient will be identified who's sending out the log note. Also in relationships, when sending out log notes, I have the ability to receive a reply to my external email address when somebody replies to my log note. Checking off this checkbox, I will receive a notification that a log note has been replied to. It will provide me with the job name and the job number, so I can go back into that job to review that reply. I also have the ability to include my email as the logged in user to that log note when I send it out, when I email it out. This will allow you to reply outside of PSA, which will also send that log note back into your job file. One of the other features that have been added to your company settings is the ability to add a job defined date onto your job type. So for instance, if you are in a cleaning business, you can enter in specific dates that are meaningful to that business. In the emergency water job type, I have added these dates. These are important dates for all of my emergency water jobs that I create. I still have the ability to add additionals. You'll see that the dates that I have chosen are grayed out, but I still have other options available to me should I need to add additional. When you add those dates to a job type, when the user goes into that job and goes to the Dates tab, only those dates will be visible. If you make this change in your database today, for example, it will not impact previously created jobs that had all of the dates available. So for instance, if I had a job that had a last day on job on my emergency water, but I don't have that set in my company settings for my job type, and I have the last day on job filled in, it will still be visible on the Dates tab. So it will not impact previously created jobs that might have had more dates outside of what I've set up in my company settings. The other addition to our company settings is the ability to have employee types automatically added as a drop-down to our job create screen. Simply coming into our employee types under jobs in company settings, I can tell the system that I want my admin role to be displayed as group 1. I have the ability to change and add up to 4 different groupings for my job create. For instance, my estimator, I've identified that I want it to be on group 2. For those customers that are syncing with the desktop, the option to edit employee types is not available in the web. Therefore, you must send an email to support identifying the employee type and which grouping you want them to fall under. They will add that to your database in the web for you to select on your job create. Job creation best practices. If your customer is a repeat customer, we're going to want to come to this drop down and search for our customer. This will result in us not having to go ahead and create a brand new customer, therefore having duplications in our database. From selecting my customer, I can also fill in address and contact information automatically. I don't have to repeat the information. You'll notice now I have address information for my customer. I also have contact information. You'll also notice at the bottom of the screen a list of jobs that have already been opened for this customer. These are our open and active jobs for this customer. This list will allow the user to review to ensure that they're not duplicating a job. It could potentially have been opened previously by another user, depending on your setup and who's creating jobs in your company. So a great way to review to make sure that I'm not creating a second job for the same loss. Once I've made my entered in my address information, I'm going to want to select my job type. We're going to want to select our subtype, selecting our location. We want to also select our building type. In our database, we have 2 options, commercial and residential. If we have defined teams in our database, we can select them. And this will just be a label on our job info, identifying what team is responsible for this job. Next, we have our referral information, which is very important if we are tracking referral sources and referral companies. Choosing from my drop-down, selecting the appropriate referral source. We also have referral company. I can start searching for my referral company. If it's an insurance company, I can select it. In the referral contact, it will identify those contacts that are set up in our Intact Insurance Company. If I don't have the name of a referral company, but I know who my contact is, I can actually go in here and search for that referral contact. It will automatically populate my referral information. Once I save my job, this referral information will populate on my Relationships tab automatically under the Company and the Contact section. It's like killing two birds with one stone. Filling in the loss description, what is meaningful for this loss. The loss description area will create a log note. Your note area as well will create a log note. And now you'll see the next line where I have identified in that employee setup who will be on my roles, on my job under relationships under the employee section. I have the ability to select my admin person. I have the ability to select my project manager, my estimator, and my technician. These two will appear once I save my job on my Relationships tab. Coming up to our Save function, the three options available to you are Save, which will create my job, create my customer if I haven't selected them from the customer dropdown, and it will remove all of the information that I've created from the screen so I can continue adding additional jobs. Save and edit will create the job, create the customer if I haven't chosen it from the customer dropdown, and it will take me back to my job info where I can start entering additional information on my dates, my relationships, etc. Save and schedule, create the job, create the customer if needed, and redirect the user right to the schedule where they can get that event out into the hands of an attendee. My job has been successfully created. My dates as I dictated on my job type. All of my relationships that I added on that job intake screen. I have my company information, contact, and employee information. So on Job Create, I can get a lot of information into my job file straight away. And my notes from my loss description and my note on the Job Create. Coming back to the dates, I can come in here and I can start adding additional dates as needed. Once I've added my dates and I save, my job will now be visible in my control center. Your control center is a really important part of the PSA program. This dashboard will allow you to identify jobs and what stage they are in, so you can manage those dates and stages within your job file. That is the demonstration so far. If you have questions, I will now start reviewing questions that have been added in the chat box. Very first question, if my customer has a mailing address that is different than the loss address, can I create a new project? I'm obviously entering the loss address. I know I can enter a new address under contacts, but how do I differ what is mailing and what is loss? So there's two parts to this question. On my job, I have the ability to identify an additional address type. So once I'm in my job and I go to relationships, I have this option called address info. And if I have a loss address and perhaps a billing address, or perhaps the loss address is a rental, I can create a new address which will be visible on my job. So let's just say this is a billing. I can add an attention field. And putting in my address information. I can add contact information as well. And as soon as I save that, I have that relationship on that address on my relationships tab. The second part of the question was, when creating a new job in PSA Desktop, once you enter the zip code, the city and state will automatically populate. Will PSA Web have the same capability to cut down on data entry? That's a very good question. I'm not sure if development is working on a postal code, zip code database like it is in the desktop, but I will certainly pose that question to the development team to see if it is in the works, and I can reach out to you to let you know. Our next question. On the job create screen, I've noticed that the referral information does backfill on the relationships tab. Also, could adjuster be added on the job create screen to backfill on the relationships tab? That backfill, that relationships tab is only for internal employee contacts. The referral information, if that adjuster or agent has the referrer type, they will be visible on that drop down from the contacts on the create screen. On the job create screen, could the referral contact be a smart field, very similar to the way PSA Desktop operates? Once the referral contact is entered, the referral company and then referral source could then auto-populate. So on the contact, as I showed you on the create, I knew my contact source was, so I put their name in, it automatically filled in the company that they are associated with. As far as referral source, that is a separate table and does not connect with the referral company or referral contact. So it will be manually selected on the job create. Another question with regard to the billing address being different from the job site. When you choose the original customer, is that address from the customer saved as a billing address? So if you choose the original customer, it's a repeat customer, the customer information from previously created jobs, the address information will populate. However, you can edit that. So if I go back to my create and I choose that customer again, and I say fill from customer, I can also clear those fields. So let's just say my property company here has multiple buildings in their portfolio, but my loss address is different from this address. I can select clear fields, and I can start entering in my job name, the address, additional contact information, but it will always come back to my customer as ABC Company. Another question with regards, when you choose the original, oh, sorry, I just answered that. Any other questions? All right, another question. When will your house built claim and adjuster have mail merge capabilities and deductible? That information, I will have to go back to support and ask them when that will be on the mail merge fields to choose from. I'll have to find out from support on what those, when that turnaround time is going to be. You're welcome, Taylor. Any other questions from the floor? All right, if there are no further questions, then I will let you all get on with your day. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you do have follow-up questions, please do not hesitate to send your questions into support. They will be happy to answer any and all, as they're all fully versed in the web. support@canamsys.com. Have a good day, everybody.